This is Black Woman CEO. Welcome to the only podcast dedicated to giving you the raw and real experiences of successful Black women entrepreneurs. Yes, girl, we're talking about the behind the scenes strategies of what it takes to increase in your profit, power, and purpose. I am your host, Quanisha Gaye, and I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. Hi there, this is your host, Quanisha Green, and welcome back to the Black Woman CEO podcast. And I am completely excited. I'm always excited, but I'm really excited to share today's guest with you. And we are talking to Rashida Gaye. Hi, Rashida.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. So before as you all know, I love to have the guests introduce themselves because I just love people to talk about themselves. I think they do a really good job at it. But let me tell you a little bit about our Black Women CEO expert that we have today. So Rashida is, I guess, my mentor, hypnotherapist, coach. We can have a lot of titles, and she's going to go into all that she does. But, Rashida and I met on Facebook. She messaged me one day. It was like, hey, let's connect. Let's have a connection call. So we messaged back and forth, and then we got on the phone, and I had this interest in doing the podcast, and she was telling me how successful she was in her business and the goals that she made just within the first year and a half. And I was like, oh, I have to interview you. And so we were like, well, let's get on a connection call. So we're doing a connection call, and Rashida's talking about her work, and I was like, oh my God, I need this. I was at this point where I just came back from maternity leave. I was already about a year, actively as an entrepreneur with some leaves here and there. But I was at a low point, everyone. When I talked about my confidence was in the dirt or the ground, and I really felt I needed support, and I wasn't sure if I should go back to therapy. I wasn't sure if I needed, another 30-day hiatus. And for those who don't know my background, I actually come from having a background of PTSD, bipolar disorder, and some mental health issues. So one thing I loved about Rashida, and her sharing her story and particularly telling me what she was doing, was that she kind of helped women with the self-worth, with trauma, with healing, in service, not just of themselves, but in their business. And I signed up to work with Rashida privately. I think within 6 weeks, I hit a 5K goal. That was my second 5K month. But then within 90 days of working together, I generated 30K in revenue in my business. That's what I closed on in business. So first we were 8 weeks in, it was 15K. We were like, wow, this is happening. And then at the end of 90 days, we were like, oh snap, really working. So that's my success story with Rashida. And I know we're going to get into the details of some of the how-to and how she makes that magic happen. But when I tell you someone who, the revenue is great, the revenue goes, but it's really an outward result of an inner transformation. And it's sustainable. I really came to this place where I love and honor myself. And of course I still have my days, but so much completely shifted. So I won't say any more about me. We can go talk about Rashida, but I just wanted to give you this context of how I met her. And I've been waiting for us. I had to reschedule the first time we had set this up, but I was like, I can't wait to share my Rashida with everybody. Go ahead, Rashida. Let us know, I guess, who you be. And then we'll get into what you do. But, I love the question of who you be. And that's really the essence of you, too, to describe yourself beyond what you do and just tell us who you are. And then we'll get into the work.
Sure. So that's such a loaded question. I'm trying to figure out how do I start it? I want to start it sort of from the beginning because I want women to understand that no matter where you come from or who you are, how you feel about yourself now, what you've experienced, that your goals of owning a successful business are so possible and real, and you actually deserve them. So for me, my journey sort of started with coming from a background of poverty and child sexual abuse and mother abandonment issues and low self-esteem and, everything that, a little girl could experience that would really cause her to doubt her sense of self-worth and her value and who she is in the world. And I did a lot of work, healing work over the years and mindset work and just inner transformational work to really help me to honor myself, know myself, value myself, and start to see that how I could contribute to people's lives, to my life, in really powerful ways. And so that sort of led me down the path of entrepreneurship, of becoming a hypnotherapist. I was always interested in teaching and coaching and counseling and guiding people, and I've always been that way all my life, and started to really look more closely at my gifts and my talents and my purpose and figure out, why am I here and what do I love to do and how can I help people? And then I built a business around just sort of being myself, being who I am naturally. And the fact that I had overcome so many obstacles and I had transformed so much that I know exactly, what the sort of thoughts and feelings that are spinning inside of women that are holding them back from really creating success. And so I decided that since I had done so much work on myself, I was ready to help other people. So that's, and I guess in a nutshell, who I be.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know we're going to break down a lot of that as we go along. So what would you say is your mission? And in that, can you also tell us more about the work that you do? I know you mentioned the hypnotherapy and how you help women heal, but if you can, I guess, give us some more particulars.
Sure. So I really believe that my mission is to help women to heal and to grow into the highest vision that they have for their lives and businesses. So I do both life coaching and business coaching, depending on what the person's goal is. And so it's really about helping them to figure out, what do they really want for fulfillment? What do they really want that is connected to their purpose, that is connected to a higher calling, a higher mission, and then helping them to clear away their own limiting beliefs and their own emotional issues that are around, building success, whatever that means for them, and then helping them to create strategy for it. And so I use hypnotherapy as sort of a tool. I have a whole bunch of different tools in my toolkit. And so hypnotherapy is one of the tools that I use because what I have discovered in my own life, and as well as in a lot of women's lives, especially African-American women, is that we are coming into our current reality with a lot of baggage from the past, from our childhood, from ancestral trauma and stuff, from, all that we've experienced. Our parents, our great-grandparents, all of it is still affecting us in our present day. It's affecting how we see ourselves, how we value ourselves, our belief in ourselves, our confidence. It's affecting everything. And in order for you to really achieve true success, you have to believe in yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to see your innate value. And so hypnotherapy is a way for me to help women to heal from the wounds, from the trauma, from the issues and the challenges from the past that are still in their way. And then I also use EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a tool to help them to, again, really heal from some of the emotional stuff that's happening within them, even in their present moments when they're working on projects or working on business and they're feeling disempowered, or they're feeling that they're not good enough, or they're feeling that this is too much for them, helping them with a tool to use in the present moment to clear away any disempowering emotions and limiting, thoughts about, what they can do, what is possible. So those are a couple of the tools that I use with women, and I have found a lot of success using them in my own life as well as my clients using them. It's just amazing. I feel so grateful to be doing this work, really.
Thank you for breaking that down for us. And, one of the things that I appreciated about Rashida's, I get, you can say, toolbox that she comes with, especially compared to, I've done private coaching, I've been in masterminds, and many people, some people call them coaches and they haven't been through any type of training. And, sometimes you don't need to be, you can share your system of process that you use to get from, A to B or A to Z. But particularly where I resonated with you is, me having a master's in social work, doing those hundreds of hours studying Black women, the cultural, familial things that impacted us. And then me personally having a history of trauma, I appreciated that not only because you are doing a proven modality like hypnotherapy, EFT, which has been proven to work with healing trauma, you also understood that historical context.
Yes. I mean, it's funny. I was just thinking about this today because I was preparing to do my live chat today. And in light of what's happening in Charlottesville, I thought, African Americans historically have had so many, and continue, and this is the thing, and continue, watching those events and continue to have so many traumatic, challenging experiences that cause us to really just not only be devalued in the eyesight of the larger society, but then cause us to internalize all of that, and have stopped us from, I truly believe, from utilizing our own talents and gifts to create success. And so I understand that, like, implicitly, because I've seen it in my own life. And I really want a lot of African American women to understand that in spite of the challenges, in spite of the internal stuff and then the external stuff from society, that you still have the power to win. And that's what I'm going to talk about today on my chat, is like, you still have the power in spite of everything that's happening internally as well as externally to win. But yes, I'm very familiar, very familiar what's happening, you know, with us specifically. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really creates this unique space where you can work because, you know, sometimes some of us need surface level things and you do that, or his strategy and his systems. But it's like, if you need a deep, deep transformation, you do need to go to, you could say sometimes the psychology, right?
Yes.
And into the subconscious and the unconscious pieces that are keeping us stuck or repeating patterns. And I know for me, that's what really changed so much of me working with you. It was like, I was healing my mama's stuff, but in my childhood stuff, but it was things that were impacting me in how I showed up in my business every day. And I think even though I talk about mindset and all these pieces, I think sometimes we don't make that connection, and that totally shifted anyone. So if you are stuck, right, and
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't
you may
understand.
need a deeper, sorry, you may need a deeper some deeper work done with someone like a Rashida, right, a hypnotherapist to help. I'm sorry, Rashida, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I think that's so true what you're saying, is I think a lot of us don't really understand the effect of, you know, our mindset and the effect of our subconscious and the effect of our thought process and the effect of, you know, what we've been taught that is still having us have the same sort of thought pattern spinning in our heads
Mm-hmm.
about ourselves and about what is possible. And I think I can sometimes listen to people talk, not sometimes, all the time. I can hear people talk and I can literally hear how they're limiting themselves. I can hear the thought process. And so my job is to sort of help them with a new thought process or a new belief system or a new way of looking at their lives or looking at themselves, to be able to achieve the vision that they have. Because the reason why you're not where you want to be is because something in your thought process is keeping you exactly where you are. So that's my job. And I use hypnosis, I use, mindset work, all of that to help them to create a new way of thinking, in essence.
Yeah, and I know this. I know we usually do this interview style, but I'm going to stress this point that sometimes I call it the catching the thoughts, some of the beginning of that cognitive behavioral practice. But it's hard to do that for ourselves. Like, I've been a client receiving cognitive behavioral something for like 10 years, and then as a practitioner, even 4 years, and I still find it difficult. One, to just practice it to keep going, but then to do it on my own. So I also wanted to just emphasize that if you've been to therapy before, you've been to coaching, and you've done some work, you still may have a hard time self-coaching yourself. And I just want to just, encourage you to, connect with professionals like Rashida, right? Or someone who has a background in helping you do this on a deeper level. So that's my push for you all to do a strategy session with Rashida.
Yeah, even for myself, I feel like it's funny. When I was in Bali, I was a coach I used to have. I was having a conversation with her at dinner, and she could listen to me, and I'm thinking, oh, my self-esteem is great and my self-worth is great, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm where I want to be in my business, and things are going well. And she could literally hear me say certain words, and she's like, oh, you shouldn't use that word, or you shouldn't say that. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, so you don't necessarily always hear what you're saying, but what you're saying is what is your thought process, is what you're thinking. And so a really good coach would really listen to your words to understand how you're limiting yourself. And I think that's the power of this work, really.
Yes, yes. So I know we talked about your expertise and even why it's important, particularly for us as Black women with our history. But how did you come to own your role as an expert and a CEO?
Good question. You have really good questions.
Thank you.
I think that's such a great question, because I think, we've all been taught, this is what it means to be an expert. Like, you have this piece of paper and you got that piece of paper and you did this many years of work and you did this. And I think for me, how I really realized I was an expert at coaching and an expert at being a hypnotherapist was doing the work every day and seeing my clients get amazing results and seeing myself get results, in my own life and business. And then also looking at all of my experience, not just work experience, like personal experience, like all the things I'd overcome in my own life. I transformed my life. Like that's what I did, right? Through the power of my mind. And so if I could do that for myself, then yeah, I'm the expert. I could help anyone else do that. And I think owning that is important because you can't always, look at your credentials and say, well, this is what makes me an expert. You have to look at the totality of your life. What challenges have you overcome? If you have overcome those, and I also believe those are connected to your purpose, then you are perfectly qualified to help someone else overcome the same challenges. So I think it's important too to really, see your value, really see your value. I think that is what makes you an expert. Seriously.
I love that when you said the totality of your life. So many of us discard our expertise because we're looking at sometimes our paper, right?
Yeah.
The paper version of ourselves, the
Right.
credentials or this, but we often disregard our lived experiences and what naturally comes to us. And so even in my work, when I'm helping people to claim the expertise, I'm like, like you said, what have you been through? What have you lived experiences? What have people been praising you for? Just because that's
Right.
how you show up in the world, right?
Right.
All that is an expertise. You've been uniquely created, right, for a certain purpose. So I love that you said the totality
Yes.
of your life, for you to see that value, particularly as women, we always are like, oh, qualifying stuff. And it's like, no, that's just, you're great at listening, or you have an ear. You don't have to have been
Right.
trained to do that, and to have people honor that. So I love that you talked about that as even your path of coming into your own expertise and claiming yourself as a CEO. So what made you decide to start your business, to get on this path?
Oh, great question too. So I was a working mother. I had been in sales. I had a successful sales career. I had been in sales for like 7 years. I was a working mother. I was a traveling salesperson. So I would travel, between different counties in a very large territory. And I had two little ones that my kids were really little, maybe like, I don't know, 3, 4. They're 5 and 8 now. So they were really little. And my husband has a business and he's always working like myself. And so a lot of the responsibilities fell on me, when I would get home. And I was just so exhausted all the time. I was so tired. There was so much on my plate. I was responsible for all these sales goals. I was stressed. It was just a lot. And I started to really question my choices. I started to question, what was important to me in life? Like, was it just making money? Was it my family? What was important to me? And I came to the conclusion that I wanted to be able to make great money, but also have a balanced family life. I didn't want to have stress. I wanted to come home when I wanted to come home. I wanted to cook dinner when I wanted to cook dinner. I didn't want to just be stressed out. And I started to think about, well, what could I do to create a business? Because I know I'm going to do a business. So what can I do? And I literally sat down one day and I wrote, and I tell my clients to do this too. I wrote down a list of all of my work experiences, all of my personal experiences, what my talents were, what my gifts were, what I love to do, what my passions were, what I was good at. And I looked at that list for many, many days and many, many weeks. And so to start to really pray and meditate on it and say, well, what could I do that could be a business that could help people using all of this? And as I was praying and meditating about things, it was funny how I really believe that you're just led to your purpose if you're really still and you listen. I started to get like little sort of signs of coaching, and I did life coaching first, life coaching and going towards life coaching. And then I found a program that had life coaching and hypnotherapy. And I was always interested in counseling and psychology, and it sort of paired like my interest. And I did that program. And then after that program, I was like, I'm ready. And I started life coaching and I started talking to folks on Facebook, and I started, meeting people and putting myself out there and promoting myself. And then as I was building my business, women were coming to me and saying, wow, you're building your business so fast, we need help. And then that sort of morphed into business coaching. So it was, it was really me sort of making a stand that I deserve more than this, what I have in this life. I'm not happy in my life. I'm not fulfilled. I deserve more. I'm ready. God, show me, help me to be able to create a life that I am choosing, not that I feel like I don't have a choice in. So all of that combined led me down the path of entrepreneurship.
I love that. Choice freedom is so important. It's such a desire of many of our listeners here. So thank you for sharing your path and the process that you took to even get clear on your vision and then your decision to just, go after it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what were some of the early challenges you faced after you started your business, and how did you overcome them?
There's always challenges. There's
Yeah.
challenges now.
Right.
And there always will be, like anything
Well,
in life, right?
the early ones.
I think the earliest challenge was me figuring out like my offers. Like, okay, so I'm a life coach now, and it's funny because in the program that I took, they didn't really teach us how to build programs or how to sell, how to sell sessions or how to market a business, right? So like, and even though I had a sales background, so I knew sort of like sales and marketing, I didn't really understand, okay, how do I sell my services to people? How do I package them? How do I sell them? So then I had to, I took some business coaching programs to really learn more about that. Also, another area that I struggled with in the beginning was showing up powerfully. Really, I had a lot of issues with. It's funny. This is so funny, because my background was in sales. I made my employer $2 million. I was used to, turning over contracts and saying sign here on the dotted line. But when it came to me asking people to support my business by buying products and services, it felt so like I had guilt around it. It was so crazy. It was like I could sell for someone else, easily. But when it came time for me to sell for myself, I had all these issues around guilt with money and asking for money and promoting myself, putting myself out there. And so I had to work through my own internal stuff to really deal with the reasons of the root cause of the reasons why I had an issue with asking for money. And I think that's the number one thing that really holds me back from making more money in business, to be honest with you, is that issue. So yeah, it was lots of internal work is how I healed from that issue.
Thank you for sharing that. And that goes along with what we've been talking about the whole
Yeah.
time. But particularly that asking for money, it's a big one. It's a big one. You have to do that internal work. Because you particularly, like you said, have a sales background. When you're sometimes promoting something for somebody else, or it's like their vision, their work, their movement, or even if you're a sales professional, it's like their product is not your own. And
Right.
something about like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like be promoting my baby or my genius, and we get so attached to it emotionally that this service or this product equals like who we are. And if someone rejects it, then they're rejecting us.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's definitely an early challenge that even if you're just starting out or if you've been in process and you're not seeing consistent revenue, particularly, that could be why. It's like you're so attached to your business and but attaching it to your sense of self and who you are. So thank you for sharing that. The mindset work was so
Yeah,
important.
one of the things I'll never forget, I got to say this, that my coach said to me that it literally is always in my head all the time. And she made $10 million last year. And she said to me, you know why I made $10 million last year? And I said, why? She said, I sell every day. She said, most people don't sell every day. That's why they're not making the sort of money that they want to make. And I thought, dang, it could be that simple. Right?
And it can be that simple. And that was part of how I generated that 30K in 90 days. Like, you may be selling every day. I was like, every day? Not just like a promotion a month? You're like, no, every day. I was like, okay, that's one of those ones I took on. It was
Right.
my job to show up and promote every day.
That's right. That's right.
I got something to share.
That's right. And believing that. And one of the things too, I think a lot of people attach their product to, well, if the person doesn't get results, that means that, I'm not selling the right thing or I shouldn't be selling this. And that's not really your job. Like your job is to help people as much as you can, to promote what you have to help them with. Their job is to use the product or service in the way that you recommend to get results. And whether they do that or not is not really your job. Right. So you can let go of that if any listeners are holding on to that.
Let it go.
Yeah.
So I know you talked about one of the reasons why you started the business was so that you could choose this freedom and decide how you want to show up for your family and work and all these spaces. So how have you integrated work and business, life, self-care, and family?
It's been interesting since the kids have been out for the summer. But it's funny because I keep telling my husband, like, I cannot wait for them to go back because I have a regimented schedule when they're in school. Like, work time, self-care time, marketing time, reaching out to customers time. Like I have that sort of a schedule every day. But in the summer, you can't really always hold to that schedule because your kids have to come first in the summer. So summers are different. But I definitely put sales and marketing activities like number one on my list every day. I sell every day. I'm marketing something every day, right? And mindset work every day. Like I do a mindset practice every single day. Like I listen to hypnosis every single night as I'm sleeping. There are things that I do on my schedule every day to be able to generate consistent income. And I think that's what another piece that I think a lot of people, they're not really consistent, they're not disciplined. And if you want to be successful in business, like in anything in life, you got to be disciplined. You got to have a schedule of things you do every day over and over and over again that generate success over time. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you for emphasizing the consistency piece. I think sometimes, I know I've been guilty of this, and I'm pretty sure our listeners are going through this too, where, you have a week and you hit it, you like, okay, I had the kids ready, and I did my self-care, and I had family time, and then the next week you don't repeat any of it, right? Like, why do I feel stressed, or why am I tired, or why did I gain 20 pounds like 3 weeks later?
Yep.
That consistency. So I love that, even though the emphasizing of getting help, right? Even though the kids are going to school, but I know your kids also haven't started formally school yet, or some of them. So it's also like childcare, right? So getting the support that you need so that you can show up the way you desire for, your life and your business and your vision that you're having. And then two, also just having a consistent routine and knowing that this routine might shift depending on, if you do have a family or other needs, and that's okay too, right? And you're working around that, but still trying to say, how can I show up consistently in my life? That's what I heard you kind of say.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's, sort of how I've done it, and I continue to do it. And I've had periods where I fall off. I have periods where, I'm a Cancer, so I'm super moody. So I have periods where I'm in my a little emotional cocoon and I need to be away from social media for a day or two, or I need to be up under my husband, for a day. I mean, I have those sort of moments too, but it's like, I know that moment's not going to last. Like, I know it. I know, okay, get back on the saddle now. It's time to go.
Yeah, sending yourself that grace and then keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you go about, I know you said the consistency, you do some things consistently, but how do you go about setting goals and executing and staying focused?
Good question. So I have a plan. So I have, an income generation plan. I have a financial plan. I have a plan for, what is it that I need to sell this month to hit this income goal. It's on a spreadsheet. It's laid out. So I know what all my marketing efforts are going to be for the whole month. And as soon as I sell one thing, I'm going into the next thing to sell. I mean, it doesn't stop. So I think having a plan of action is really important. And I think service is really important. So, I show up and I serve. I mean, that's, I think how I grew my business so fast was I serve all the time. I mean, I do, a Facebook Live probably 3 times a week, at least, sometimes, twice a week. But I'm always helping. I'm always thinking of my, I call her my soulmate client. I'm thinking of her, like, what's in her mind that's in the way? What's her strategy like that's not working for her? Why is she not creating a consistent income? Why is she not creating a successful life, right? How can I help her? How can I help her think differently? So I'm always putting the focus on her. And I just said this to a friend the other day, I noticed that whenever I put the focus on my ego, like, oh, I'm making all this money, I'm big time, here I go, all this kind of stuff. Like, when I put the focus on my ego, I feel like God humbles me. And so it's a lesson for me to put the focus on the people that I serve. And if you keep your focus on the people that you serve, you will be successful in business.
That was one of the most important things you taught me. I think, often in our industry, well, I would say in business in general, you always hear, give value and serve. But sometimes one challenge that I hear often from people in the Black women CEO community is, well, what happens if I give it all and I don't have any more? And so I love the questions that you just went over and basically saying, like, well, what does she need to hear today, right? And yeah, you have your book and you shared it, everything, but if you just think of what is her challenge today, or what does she need to hear, or what did you just hear from someone who was your soulmate client, and then giving them that information. So, you're really prolific. Like, Rashida posts is like 8 times a day, and she's
Yes.
sharing and giving and giving. You're like, where is this coming from? And
Yeah.
then I remember sometimes after our sessions, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna write a post about that.
Oh, yeah. They come from my clients. You guys inspire me deeply. Seriously. Like, you'll say one thing and I'm like, oh, my soulmate client's thinking the same way. Okay, now let me talk to her about that.
Mm.
Right.
Yes, I just wanted to pull that out because of that challenge that people often hear, like, well, what happens if I run out of things to say, or I don't know what to say? Just asking yourself, well, what does my client need to hear today? That was such a game changer.
And also, too, that's a scarcity mindset. I learned it from my coach. She was like, you know, you got to see yourself as being used for a higher purpose. Like, see yourself as that. And if you know you're being used for a higher purpose, that means that the message, the service, the product is coming through you for people, to help people. And if that is the case, then you're never gonna run out. It's always gonna keep coming. So just believe that.
Yes, move into that abundance thinking, right?
Yeah,
The universe does not run out and you won't run out.
that's right.
That
That's
divine
right.
connection. I love it.
Right.
So I know we just shared lots of wisdom and nuggets. You're just like, this is, I don't know, like a goal. I wish I could like star it when I like release it. But as we move into like the closing inspiration and advice for listeners, what is one piece of wisdom that you would share with the woman who is frustrated building her business and desires to become a rockstar CEO? Or another way to think about this is, what do you wish someone told you when you started this journey?
The answers are within.
Mm.
So when I say that, I mean, whenever I feel like becoming too influenced by what other people are doing, what they say I should be doing. This is the way to, achieve success. This is the way to do it. It doesn't work well for me. But what I notice is when I get in those moments, I feel overwhelmed. I start spending more time in meditation and prayer, and I just start asking, like, show me, because you have a path very unique to your own business inside of you, and the more you can be connected to that, that path inside of you, that voice, whether you call that God, spirit, creator, universe, whatever you want to call that voice, the energy that is always sort of moving through you, the more you're connected to that, the more you'll start to create from a very inspired place that is for the people that you've been born to help, because you've been born to help certain people. And so the more you're connected to yourself, then it's just gonna come through you. So when you're feeling sort of like stagnant, or like, I don't know how to sell this or how to put this together or what to offer, like, just start going inside and listening.
You hear that, folks? You can't go wrong if you check in and tune in and listen to spirit. So, I have this, I guess you can say talk, the silent killers of women's leadership, and, comparing ourselves, feeling overwhelmed, having fear, procrastinating. Those are like the 4 pillars there. And what you just said is like the antidote to all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at someone else and you're like, well, why is she this or why is she that, or she's doing this, I'm not doing that, should I be doing that? Right? Or you feel overwhelmed. It's like, if you tune in, get quiet, and listen to that still small voice, it's going to tell you where to go, right? Even when you feel the fear. So I love that at the basis of everything you're saying, like, check in with yourself, right? If this truly is a divine walk, then your spirit is going to lead you, and you're going to have a unique path that might not look like anything else that's out there, right? Because it's what you're here to uniquely create. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So what is, in all this, what is your personal mantra or motto or saying or quote that you live by?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. I mean,
maybe your top 3 favorite then.
I think the most important thing for me that really shifted my life was, and I still have it on my bathroom mirror, I'm in my bedroom looking at my mirror, is that reminding myself every day that I'm valuable. I think, I'm a valuable resource. Like, I am, and you are too. And I think just reminding yourself of those simple things will just totally transform your business, because in order for you to be able to sell products and services to people to really help them, you have to see yourself as a valuable resource. You have to do that. And they won't do it first. You have to do it first. And so for me, it's reminding myself of that every day when I forget, because we're human, we forget, right? We're saying all kinds of crazy things in our head all the time that are not true, right? And so just sort of reminding yourself of that, I think every day is really important.
Well, I think what you just said might be the answer to our closing question that we like to ask, which is, what's the number one success strategy or tip you would give to the women or to women who are in the early phases of building a business?
I would say build products and services that are like really from the heart. Like, this is what you really want to share with people. This is what you really, will really help them. Like, it has to be something that is really your passion. It has to be something that you feel is purpose filled, because, growing a business is work. It is a lot of work, right? Internal work and external work. And the more you're just like living on your passion, like, this is my passion, this is my fire, this is my purpose, I love what I'm doing, it makes it worth it. It makes it easier. So don't lie to yourself. Like, a lot of folks are in business and they don't really want to sell what they're selling, or they don't believe in what they're doing. Like, you don't deserve that. If that's how you feel about your business, start a business that you truly love. Because if you don't love your business, nobody else will love it. Seriously. So I would say that.
Yeah, because those days when we just said, like, how do you stay motivated? How do you get it done? It's that passion, that purpose, that connection, that inspiration, right? That soul work that's going to
Yes.
help you get up and get through. Like you said, it's always challenges.
Yes.
This is going to help you. I don't even want to say push, because it doesn't become a push, it becomes a pull. It'll
Yes.
pull you through all of that. So that's really great advice. And it wasn't good for me to hear again, because sometimes I have to remind myself, you feel like, oh, I got to do this. I don't have to do that. I want to do it.
That's
I
right.
get to do it. So
That's
as you
right.
all see, I'm always, I hear Rashida in my head all the time. It's like,
Perfect. That's my goal. It's
she's
for my
like
clients
the
to hear
little
me in their
angel
head.
that sits there. Or I guess if I had like a shoulder psychologist.
Yes.
So even doing this interview, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Let me write that down. That's right. I gotta remember.
Right. So my work is done then.
So Rashida, I guess I'm pushing you on our listeners. So how can they connect with you and get
Sure.
into your world and just see, maybe even test out some of the things that you have going on?
Sure. So my website is mindshiftlife.com. You can find me on Facebook at Rashida Gaye. I have a Facebook group called Mind Shift Life, business page, Rashida Gaye Mind Shift Life, Instagram. I'm everywhere. So if you have questions or, want to reach out to me, you can private message me, or you can email me at Rashida@mindshiftlife.com.
Awesome. And I will make sure, everyone, when you look at the show notes for this episode with Rashida Gaye, we'll make sure that Mind Shift Life and her email, as well as the Facebook groups, that they're all there. So you can just click and go connect and enter the world of Rashida Gaye. Thank you so much, Rashida, for taking time out of your really packed schedule, because I know.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go onto my live chat in a couple of minutes.
I know. She's like, I gotta go. So thank you so much for spending the time and sharing your wisdom and expertise here. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everyone. And talk to you all soon. Bye.
Oh girl, the episode stopped, but the party is not over. I want you to go ahead and subscribe, like, and rate this show. Leave us a comment sharing your takeaways. And when you're done with that, come on over to blackwomanceo.com, join our movement. And when you do that, you'll get the special invitation to join us in our community. Well, I will love to put a face to that name, girl. So this is Quanisha signing off, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Peace and love.